back to the Recovery Movie Meetup Celebrity Podcast. I'm your host, Ted Perkins. On this edition of the show, I'm joined by none other than prolific and extremely talented Oscar-winning actor Denzel Washington to help us break down the 2012 movie Flight. Denzel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ted. It's a pleasure to be here. You'll have to excuse me. It's been a while since I talked about Flight, and I probably should have rewatched the movie before this interview.
Oh, no, it's all good. This show is really all about the broad strokes, what people in recovery can learn from the film, and specifically your character, Whip Whitaker.
Yeah, Whip Whitaker. What a great character. Zemeckis is such a genius in how he approaches storytelling. He allowed me to explore the darker side of this guy, and that's what made the whole process exciting.
Okay, so he lands a plane upside down and saves a ton of people doing it when he's majorly hungover and just had 3 vodkas for breakfast. So what are we to conclude from that? That being slightly drunk helped him do what he did?
No, not at all. On a simplistic level, somebody might conclude that. But that's not what this movie is trying to say at all. The accident is just the jumping off point to dive deeper into this guy's addiction to alcohol and the toll it's had on his life and his relationships.
Like his wife, his son.
Exactly. Those relationships are the disasters that he needs to overcome. His whole life is a disaster because of his drinking. And it's interesting that everyone thinks he's a hero for landing the plane the way he did, because he knows deep down that he's not a guy worthy of admiration.
So in a sense, it took something as extreme as the accident to force him to finally acknowledge that he has a problem.
Yes, absolutely. In the same way as a DUI or some other negative event forces people to finally address their issues. Now, granted, if Whip had just gotten pulled over by the cops and failed a sobriety test, we wouldn't have had much of a movie. But the idea is the same. Some people need to be jolted awake by an event, any size event, that exposes the elephant in the room.
So during the movie, Whip tries to quit, fails, tries again, fails, and the tension is really getting ratcheted up because of his NTSB hearing, where the issue of alcohol is the central piece of evidence in the case, right?
Yeah, his toxicology tests after the crash are inadmissible evidence, but the NTSB locates 3 bottles of vodka in the crash that are unaccounted for. Now, we all know he drank that vodka, but his legal defense is based on saying that somebody else must have drunk that vodka.
As in the flight attendant who died in the crash.
Exactly. Since dead men tell no tales, if he lies and says she drank it, there's nobody to contradict that claim, and he gets off scot-free. And again, this is what's so cool about the movie. It takes a big extreme event like an NTSB hearing to force Whip to confront the fact that his addiction to alcohol has made him into a liar in many respects. And just as he will have to lie to others to save his career, he'll have to lie to himself about what he really stands for in life.
And that's really what recovery starts with, right? I mean, complete honesty with oneself, first and foremost, and then with others, as they begin the process of rebuilding the trust they've lost as a consequence of their addiction.
And that's what makes the climax of the movie so powerful. It's a choice people with addiction problems probably face all the time. Do I continue to lie to save my job, or do I tell the truth to save my life? And again, Zemeckis makes these basic, rather simple, everyday moral issues and recovery principles play out in such extreme circumstances. I mean, I can see why you included this movie in your Recovery Movie Meetups program.
Yeah, it has a lot to say. So look, quick last thing before we go. What would you see as the biggest takeaways from this movie for someone who is struggling to overcome addiction and recover successfully?
Well, first, let me say that I'm pleased, and I'm sure Robert Zemeckis is pleased, that this movie is being used to help people. There's a lot of elements in this story that can inspire a person to change, and it doesn't need to be landing a plane upside down to get to that point. But that being said, sometimes it takes some big event to push someone in the direction of healing, of honesty, of looking at their behaviors and all lies they've had to tell themselves and others and saying, well, no, this must stop. There is another way.
There is, and recovery is possible. And the first step is to own up to the problem and then get help from any of the amazing treatment organizations that specialize in getting people to the finish line. Look, thank you, Denzel, for your time, and I'm sure all of us in the Recovery Movie Meetups community are looking forward to your next movie.
My pleasure, Ted. Keep up the great work of using movies to help people heal. And I want to tell all the recovery professionals who help land all those wayward planes safely, thank you for what you do. Keep doing the important work that you're doing. All of us working in Hollywood support you.
Thank you, Denzel. And stay tuned for our next Recovery Movie Meetup Celebrity Podcast coming soon.